So I recently reread a book that continues to ground and guide me. The author is Peter Block. The book is Community, the Structure of Belonging. It reminds me when I need to remember that the essence of community, the glue that holds it all together, is relationship. Communities with high social capital, Block says, are places where trust is strong, where people feel safe, where generosity flows naturally. It's not about geography or wealth, but human connection, about breaking out of our silos and competition and rediscovering what it means to belong. And I have to say that at our auction last night, that was an example of collaboration, of belonging, of generosity. We had a good time, amen? And we had a fun time just sharing and laughing, and the wine helped too. My co-auctioneer, Ted Hall, asked me why I love the church so much, and I said, well, and I was joking, but I said, well, I love that we can drink wine without having communion. Peter Block wrote that community offers the promise of belonging and calls for us to acknowledge our interdependence. To belong is to act as an investor, he said, as an owner and creator of this place. Indeed, we are all investors, shareholders here at UUCA. And when you come to see that you have social capital in a community, your commitment in that community strengthens. So that's what we're called to do, to be co-creators of this beloved community, this rarity of a congregation anywhere in the world. Co-creators of this community, not consumers, but contributors, not watchers, but weavers, not a consumer, but a servant. The greatest among you shall be your servant. To give, then, is to receive in a true beloved community. It's not about, what's in it for me, but what's in it for we, for all of us. That's true belonging. And Block does, that this way of thinking moves us beyond comfort and safety, but into hospitality, gratitude, and generosity. And these, for us, are sacred practices. And they are how we build the new religion for America that's desperately needed, and the new America. That is our challenge in this time. But there is an obstacle that is keeping us from this reality, and we must face it honestly. As we watch that blue wave, which will continue, and the repudiation of evil in our nation, we're still trying to figure out how to manage a solid 1/3 of our country who live by fear, scarcity, and racism. They are uncomfortable with differences. Differences that are not white, straight, and so-called Christian, as they see it. And they see this liberal, progressive expansion of diversity as a detriment to their way of living. And it's not just them, it's some of us too. Within our religious and political spectrum, then there is a paradox contradiction of sorts that I have to name today. And I used the British writer David Goodhart in his essay way back in 2002 that Ken Apfel and his wife Caroline gave to me for an auction sermon long time ago. And it just popped up into my consciousness, and I said, I think that article's calling me. In fact, Ken, he bought a sermon at the auction, so you might have me do this again. And Reverend Fred's done a sermon with Goodhart, this article. Reverend Christina, when she was here, did a sermon. I did a sermon, and I'm talking about it again because it gets right down to the point. Now, what are we talking about? Well, in his essay, you can look this up, The Discomfort of Strangers, he wrestles with what he calls the progressive dilemma, the tension between diversity and solidarity. And he says this: societies that become more diverse, it becomes harder to maintain the bonds of trust and shared obligation that sustain a common life. In other words, the more strangers we live among, the harder it can be to feel responsible for one another. It's true. And you see this in the statistics. It's proven that, homogeneous populations tend to be more open and sharing with their resources, like Scandinavian countries. There you'll find universal health care, free college, accepted higher taxation by the rich and the middle class, a sense of shared responsibility. The person at the top in this homogeneous population can see themselves in the person at the bottom. There is likeness. Like attracts like. There is likeness. However, when there is heterogeneity, you find the opposite. The person at the top in America does not see themselves in the black and brown bodies who are poor in the middle and at the bottom, and that's where the inhumanity occurs. SNAP benefits are withheld, welfare is chastised, even though the majority of people who look like them are at the bottom. But they, in effect, become a part of that untouchable class. They too are invisible, and yet they vote against their best interest. I will never understand that. But this is a legacy from our original sin, slavery, where humans are seen as chattel, where we can pay them as little as possible to get the most out of them. And therefore, if you are at that place, you don't really exist. They don't see you, and they don't have to. We must make them see them. And that is the caste, the structure that haunts us. And people want to make it about all these other things, but I'm telling you, this is it. And so you go to them and you tell them this, and their first reactive response is, well, maybe diversity is a bad idea. They don't want to name this evil. They'll say, like, the social programs, they're expensive. We can't afford them. We need to privatize them. It's a part of a broken system. We just need to let this thing, fall to pieces. Shut it down. Meanwhile, billions are spent on trivialities. And people suffer. And here's the catch. And I mean this directly. They do this in the name of a whitewashed Jesus. Y'all not hearing me? I'll never understand. If you look at all the major religions, Buddhism, that was an Indian. Islam, that was an Arabic man. Christianity, that was a Palestinian man. Taoism, that was a Chinese man. So I don't know what version of Christianity we're talking about here, but it's not the Christianity that I understand. But here's the thing, a lot of us don't want to talk about this. It makes us uncomfortable because it's a stranger to us, the discomfort of strangers. And we're not just talking about people. The discomfort with growing your soul. You have to keep talking about diversity and racism until it has no negative power over you. And if you're one of those people who's like, I'm tired of talking about this, guess what? I am too. Why do we need to have this Mosaic Sunday every month talk about racism? I know I'm a part of a racist system. I'm a racist. I know I'm complicit in the structure. Why we need to keep talking about this? If you are that person, don't say nothing. Don't raise your hand. But if you are, that's why you have to keep having this discussion. We keep talking about it till it has no negative power over us. That's what we have to do. And so, when you understand how this system is set up, we cannot stop until this evil is gone. And we are called to become more comfortable with strangers in our schools, in our neighborhoods, in our communities, in our religious institutions. That is spiritual work, nothing more. The writer Goodhart is reminding us that solidarity, the sense that your well-being is tied to mine, doesn't happen automatically. It must be cultivated through empathy, through relationship building, and shared purpose. Without that, we risk retreating into smaller and smaller tribes, caring for those who only look and think like us. Now, let me be clear, being in your silo isn't bad. It's not a bad thing to be with people who are like you. Men hang out, women hang out, GBLTQ plus people hang out. People hang out. There's nothing wrong with that. That's human nature. Like attracts like. But the problem is that some people believe their group is the most important. And it's not true. And so the larger question is, are you willing to share your common spaces, your schools, your parks, your neighborhoods, your congregations, equally and equitably? And writing this sermon had me thinking about Prince George's County and Charles County. Like, just 15 minutes, driving the way I do, 15 minutes, might take you 30. It used to be that Prince George's was the wealthiest place in the world for African Americans. It's now Charles County. But Charles County has a much smaller population, about 100,000 people. Prince George's has about 1 million people. And these are majority-minority counties due to white flight. I need to add that. And for the people who live in these places, it is a chosen kind of segregation. In fact, it just sort of happened over the years, and it is what it is. I was having breakfast at the, what's the name of that restaurant I said in the first service? First Watch in Bowie. And there's one in Crofton, too, not that far down. I've been to both of them. The one in Bowie is totally different. Somebody said the food's better in Bowie. I don't know, but the First Watch in Bowie, when you walk in, there's African Americans, front to back, with a sprinkle of white folk. Now, I just drove 15 minutes, and it's beautiful. And they're not thinking about diversifying their restaurant. That's not the point I'm trying to get you to get this morning when we talk about racial diversity and equity and equality. We want to feel welcome like everybody else in all spaces, not just our personal spaces. So that when we leave our place of comfort, when we travel out of state, when we go to a B&B, by the way, bread and breakfast, I have to think about where I'm going. Do you? Maybe you do. I do. I want to be able to go to a B&B and not worry about how I'm going to be treated. And I'm privileged. And that's what a country must secure for all of its citizens. That's what we must secure here at UUCA. That's the real issue. When I step outside of my home turf, will I still be welcomed as a neighbor, not treated as a stranger? So our common places, our public life, our democracy, our faith communities must be preserved as pluralistic, open, and equal spaces. That's what we're fighting for. You can go on in your little group. You can be angry in your little group. You can be racist in your little group. When we come to public space, you respect the inherent worth and dignity of all people. That's the point I'm trying to make. So this struggle is where we are in America right now. And Goodhart wrote that the question at heart is ancient, he said. Who is my neighbor? With whom do I share an obligation? I would say a public obligation. And the conservative answer is often local and limited, family, tribe, nation, religion. But the liberal answer reaches for universalism, everyone, everywhere, and that has its own set of problems. But the spiritual answer encompasses both of them. It's a question of faith, which says both, that we begin with those nearest to us and we expand our fractal pattern outward in ever-widening circles of compassion. It's really a spiritual question. Who is my neighbor? If I am connected to all, then everyone is my neighbor. And if everyone is my neighbor, I can't shut down the government. If everyone is my neighbor, I can't bomb into dust children and their families. If everyone is my neighbor, I can't snatch parents and children, breaking into people's homes and taking them away without due process. If everyone is my neighbor, I can't take away SNAP benefits. Somewhere I read, I was hungry and you gave me food. Their words. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you took me in. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me. But when, Master, did we do this? When you did this unto the least of these, you did it unto me. This is the gospel of the beloved community. Don't let nobody fool you. So this is the spiritual task of the 21st century, to expand the circle of privilege, to expand the circle of us, to move from fear of the stranger, discomfort, to comfort with the stranger, from isolation to belonging. Peter Block, he puts it beautifully. Relationship and connectedness are the precondition for change. Every meeting, every process, every training program has to get people connected first. Otherwise, the content falls on deaf ears. It's amazing when you start your meetings at church, right? Everybody gets together and we're talking, we're chatting, there's a lot of free energy, and then somebody in the group says, all right, let's light the chalice and have some words. And all that energy gets focused inward, and then you're done. And everything feels totally different. It feels like you've created some entrainment, like you're all on the same page. It feels very different, when you bring it together. That's really what I'm talking about. That every meeting, every process, every training program has to get people connected first. It's all about connection. So every time we gather, every live auction, every small group meeting, every coffee hour is a chance for us to practice the new religion of belonging, collaboration. That's the new religion. It's not about agreement, it's about connection. How we are when we gather matters more than what we do. How we are when we gather. And Goodhart reminds us that humans are wired, yes, to favor their own kind, but faith asks us to expand who our kind is. This is the gospel of Beloved Community. Our kind includes everyone, the stranger, the refugee, the neighbor we don't understand. And so we're invited to stretch our moral imagination and to grow our empathy and practice this art of belonging. We are single cells in the body of 8 billion cells. That's what Norman Cousins said. And I believe that when one cell heals, it has the capacity to help other cells to heal, eventually healing the whole body. But when one cell hurts or gets damaged, it also damaged the body. And so how do we heal? We heal through being together in relationship. We heal through gratitude. That's our heartbeat. We heal through being together in community. That's the circulation. And love holds it all together. That's the energy that keeps it all flowing. Let us be that community that moves across differences. And let us begin to live this new religion of belonging as a fractal pattern of possibility. And together, we can usher in the new religion and the new America, which is already being born. When you do your part, when you show up in solidarity with the marginalized, when you are generous and grateful, you are growing your soul. You are participating in this new reality that is being born right here, right now, inside of each and every one of you. May it be so. Amen.